Welcome back, students, as we go through the process of understanding internal text structure. We're on to lesson 3, which deals with comparison and contrast. But let's take a quick recap of the structures we've already studied. First, we studied the text structure of description. Its purpose is to give information about the characteristics or features of a topic. And you would remember we talked all about the hummingbird and all the things that we learned about them, its size, how it flies, its migration patterns, and so on. The second structure we discussed was the sequence text structure, which talks about steps in a process, which talks about showing order of events. And we remembered how the hummingbird extracted nectar from the honeysuckle. Today's structure is all about comparison and contrast. And of course, as its name suggests, comparison and contrast deals with how two topics are alike and how they are different. The graphic organizer that best describes this is the Venn diagram. Have you been using Venn diagrams in your mathematics? Well, you can also use it in English, because the Venn diagram tells us how two things are different, but that place in the middle there tells you how they are similar. For example, you have to write two types of writing for SEA, a report and a story, two different types. They have different purposes, different content, different structure, different types of language. But you still have to pay attention for both of them: spelling, grammar, mechanics, and paragraphing. So when it comes to comparison and contrast, there are some signal words that you need to be familiar with. One of them, however, on the other hand, but, although, in contrast, different. So all of those before talk about contrast, about different. These talk about things that are similar. Words like alike, same as, similarly. And of course, you may find some comparative adjectives like smaller or bigger or larger and so on. Of course, we like to look at how this pattern works with a passage. So let's look at a passage that uses the structure of comparison and contrast. Read with me. Porpoises and dolphins are both large, sleek-looking sea animals, and they are related to the whale. Porpoises are smaller and measure up to about 2 meters in length and weigh no more than 100 kilograms. They have rounded snouts which are blunt. Dolphins, on the other hand, are larger. They grow up to 3 meters long and can weigh about 270 kilograms. The very largest dolphins are called killer whales, even though they are not whales. Porpoises and dolphins can be found close to ocean coasts. However, some dolphins swim in fresh waters of large rivers and lakes in Asia and South America. Did you learn something new about porpoises and dolphins? I certainly did. So let's look at this structure. Let's first highlight all the times the words porpoises and dolphins are recorded in this passage. But before we do that, let's look at the signal words that you need to figure out when you're looking at a comparison and contrast text structure. Look at them carefully. All right, so we're going on to the passage, and we are going to look for all the times that the words porpoises and dolphins are mentioned in this passage. So we find that porpoises and dolphins are there. Sometimes we have porpoises alone, and sometimes we have dolphins alone. We have different times the pronoun they would be used. Sometimes the they refers to porpoises and dolphins, and sometimes it refers to porpoises alone, and sometimes the they refers to just the dolphins. Take a minute and look through and see what you can find out about the similarities and differences about porpoises and dolphins, just based on the highlights so far. Now we have looked at the words porpoises and dolphins. Let's see if we can look at the transitional words. So we have both, which tells me something similar, but we have the comparative adjective smaller, which means that there's something different. If something is smaller, then something has to be bigger. Let's see if we see something else. On the other hand, it tells me that something is different or opposite than what was before. Let's see what else we see. However, also tells me that there's something different. So let's begin to work out some facts about dolphins and porpoises based on this. And of course, we have our Venn diagram, which will help us to organize the information so we can understand the similarities and the differences between the porpoises and the dolphins. First, we noted that porpoises have round, blunt snouts. However, dolphins have pointed snouts. We learned that porpoises measure up to 2 meters in length and weigh no more than 110 kilograms. On the other hand, we learned that dolphins measure up to 3 meters in length and weigh no more than 270 kilograms. What else did we learn? We learned that some dolphins swim in fresh waters. But we learned that both are large animals, we learned that both are related to the whale, and both can be found close to ocean coasts. Look carefully at all we have learned from this passage so far, because you're going to need this information later for a question. Now, let's answer 2 questions based on this passage. 1, give one way in which porpoises and dolphins are similar. And 2, state 2 differences between porpoises and dolphins. Do you think you remember? Do you need the passage again? Well, let's look at the Venn diagram and let's quickly see if we can answer those questions. Similarities and differences. And let's go back to the question. Give one way in which porpoises and dolphins are similar. If you choose any one of these ways, they are both large animals, they are both related to the whale, and they both can be found close to ocean coasts, then you are correct and you will get your mark easily. What about the second question? State 2 differences between porpoises and dolphins. If you choose any of these 2, you will be correct. Porpoises are smaller than dolphins. Porpoises weigh less than dolphins. And porpoises' snouts are round and blunt, while dolphins' snouts are sharp. If you had any of these 2, congratulations, you get your 2 marks. Sometimes the questions might come in a table, but the information is still the same. In this table, we have some information about porpoises, and we have some information about dolphins. Can you complete this table with the relevant information based on all that you know? We know that the porpoises have round, blunt snouts. What about the dolphin snout? Was it different? Was it similar? We know that the dolphins measure up to 3 meters in length. How many meters would the porpoises measure? We know that porpoises weigh no more than 110 kilograms. What's the weight of the dolphins? Let's see if you can figure it out. So let's go. Take a quick look at the Venn diagram again and see if you get your answers. So you can easily get the answers here. The porpoises have round, blunt snouts. They measure up to 2 meters in length. They weigh no more than 110 kilograms. The dolphins have pointed snouts, measure up to 3 meters in length, and weigh no more than 270 kilograms. So if you got this question in SCA, you think you can answer it correctly? I think you can. So what have we learned about this text structure? The comparison and contrast text structure is used to show similarities and differences between two things. You've been doing very well so far, but we have one more text structure to explore. Stay tuned for that. Thank you for joining us.